So in accordance with Executive Order N-080-21, the Humboldt County Board of Supervisors meetings are being held virtually. You can participate via the Zoom call-in phone number, which is located on your screen and on the front of the agenda. This time I'd like to ask a roll call. Tracy?
Morning. Supervisor Bohn?
Yes, I am.
Supervisor Bushnell?
Yes.
Supervisor Wilson?
Present.
Supervisor Bass?
Here.
And Supervisor Madrone? I know he's in the building. He's probably logging on.
All right. So
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So do we also have a flag for the flag salute, Tracy? Okay. I got one. I don't think I'm see. Rex has one. All right. Well, let's follow me in saluting our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It was a two-flag day. That was great. All right, so welcome to our meeting. For those of you who may not be frequent visitors, I want to let you know how you can participate. If you want to call in, you press the number on the screen. And when you want to talk or comment on an item, you press *9 to raise your hand. And when your number is called, you'll press *6 to unmute yourself, and then you'll get 3 minutes to speak. When you are watching this on TV or on your screen, and then you call in on the phone, please turn your audio off on your screen or video, because there's a time delay and it will be very confusing and you might miss your opportunity to talk. So everyone's going to have 3 minutes, and when you hear this sound, it means you have 30 seconds to wrap up. And don't feel bad, you'll be thanked and your phone will be muted, and we'll move on to the next commenter. So at this point, I think we'll move on to our CAO and ask if there's any modifications to the agenda.
Thank you, Chair Bass. There is one modification, item number D12, for the summarily approve the nuisance of the abatement assessment on property located on Highway 36 is being pulled from the agenda and will return at a date uncertain.
All right, thank you. So do I have a hello, what day is it? It feels like Monday to me, but do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar and the agenda with modifications?
So moved. Second.
All right. Let's go out to see if we have members of the public. If you would like to comment on items that are on the consent calendar, now would be the time to raise your hand. At this moment, I do not see any hands up. All right. Tracy, do you see any?
I do not, Chair Bass.
All right. Well, given that, we will return to the board. And are there any board members who would like to make a comment on the consent calendar? Or are you ready to vote? All right. I think we're ready to vote, Tracy. Can you please do a roll call vote?
Okay, Supervisor Bohn?
Yes.
Supervisor Bushnell?
Yes.
Supervisor Wilson?
Yes.
Supervisor Madrone?
Yes.
And Supervisor Bass?
Yes.
Passes 5-0.
All right, thank you. So we're now going to move on to public comment on items that are not on the agenda. Again, if you are a member of the public, and you wish to speak on items not on the agenda, now would be the time to raise your hand by pressing *9. All right. Do not see anyone raising their hands, so we will go back to the board, and we will then move on to the next item, which is matters initiated by board members. And this item comes to us from Supervisor Wilson, and it's regarding a letter about redistricting. So Supervisor Wilson, I'd like to hand this over to you.
Thank you. I have my mask on because there's a staff member nearby to help me try and get this up onto PowerPoint. So hold on one second. We're going to share a screen and see if we can get this going. What do I do?
Here, go to presentation.
Here, that one?
Yep.
Okay. Like that.
And then do share screen.
Going over to share screen. Hold on a second. It will let me.
On this side.
It's not letting me go over there. Hold on one second. Technical. Let me escape from here for a second. Go to share screen here. This one or this one? This one, because it's in that's the whole screen.
Okay.
Checking this one. Okay. Sharing. Okay.
And then now go presentation mode.
Where's that?
Down here.
Down here, this one?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Let's see.
Where does it go?
Here it is. Can people see it? Nod heads if you can see that. Does it have notes on it or anything like that too, or is it just the screen, the presentation? I'm looking at you, Steve. I'm looking at your head nodding there.
There's,
Look good.
I don't know what we're supposed to see. There's two pictures.
There's two pictures.
Yeah, it does show
Three
your
maps, and 10 smiling people really happy that they're getting redistricted.
Yeah. Okay. So we're seeing two pictures still. Oh, good gosh, is right. Okay. So what are we doing?
Click down here on that.
Okay.
And then
And go here. Any change?
go then to this one.
Okay. I don't know. There, like that. Oh, here we are. Okay, so let's do this. Does that change at all? Can you guys see it bigger now?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. I'll just go that way.
And click that carrot right there and you'll reduce the font.
This one?
Not the one right above it, the little right there.
This one. Okay. Okay, is that better, guys? Okay, good. We're gonna go with that. Thanks, everybody, for your patience on this. I don't see any of you right now, so I'm just gonna cruise through this as best I can. Steve in the next office, if you could yell loud or let me know if things are not going as planned here. So as everyone knows, the census has been, I can take this off now, close my door, hold on. As everybody knows, we have redistricting potentials all through California, not just in our local supervisorial districts and cities, but also as a state and congressional districts. And so this is basically my encouragement for not just the county, but also our citizens to participate in that with relationship to our congressional districts and our state lines associated with assemblies and Senate races. I also want to acknowledge that the state of California is going to be likely losing a congressional seat in this redistricting. And so there will be lines moved. And so I want to make sure that we're participating in that. So moving on to the next slide here, you can see there's these different legislative districts that are already around. This is our current one here. But there have been talks in the past of reorienting these districts. Both, ours currently is in a kind of north-south orientation. Some have talked about east-west orientations. So the census is done every 10 years. We all know that. And we're here to talk about some of those things. California state law, the Citizens Redistricting Commission, which is basically happening now. They're looking for proportionality between districts. They're looking for making sure that they're not isolating minority communities or dividing communities as well in terms of political power in that process. And everyone gets a representative voice or as much as possible. And so geographically compact and contiguous spaces and not making all these weird lines that go in all these weird directions, and to preserve communities of interest. And communities of interest basically are socioeconomic and cultural areas, and making sure that they have some contiguousness to them. And when I describe that here, community of interest is a concentrated population which shares common social and cultural economic interests. Examples include culture, where people share living standards. Some transportation facilities is actually really meaningful, and even utility connectivity, and have similar work opportunities. And people can belong to multiple communities of interest. The draft letter that we're kind of looking at today basically is an idea that we as a community will want to share with the commission that Humboldt County recognizes that we share resources with our neighboring counties, recognize that we share similar economic and social interests with these, and again, kind of recognizing sort of the north-south perspective that we've had for so many years and would like to continue, and recognizes that existing legislative districts preserve and enhance these bonds between our counties that we have done so for so long, and finds that we are a community of interest in the North Coast. We'll kind of have a discussion about that. And then before I kind of get off this PowerPoint, I just want to let people know that on August 23rd, there will be a meeting for what's called Zone A from 3 to 7 p.m. It'll be online. It includes Del Norte, Humboldt County, Mendocino County, Lake, Napa, Sonoma, and Trinity counties. You can register at wedrawthelinesca.org. And so you can also draw a map for yourself on drawmycommunity.org, and you can submit letters here. And if anyone has questions, they can send me an email, and we'll have that information to you as much as possible. And so I'm going to unshare this now, and we can get back to the discussion of the letter. So hold on a second. Did I do it? Am I unshared? Am I back to normal? Thank you for nodding and acknowledging. So apologize for the awkwardness of that. This is what I'm bringing to the board to basically have our county submit a letter asking that we basically remain in the same sort of context for our districting, and that's it. Thank you for that. Any questions?
Rex?
Through the chair, yeah, and that's great for that information, but have all the boards of the other counties approved? I mean, does Trinity want to stay with us? Because I know they really get being called Humboldt East sometime when we share so many, we've shared department heads and things in the past. And they're 100 miles from us and 40 miles away from Shasta. So is there and right now they're cut off from us, and they're with the fires, and they have a different, like you said, utility. They use a lot of the same things along those lines. So I mean, and not just them, I'm just saying, and I can see the coastal buy-in, but before we say, hey, these people want to be with us, have we asked them if they want to be with us? And I guess that doesn't matter, but.
Yeah, through the chair, I think Trinity can have its own voice in this. I'm just trying to put our voice out there, that the orientation that exists currently, the north-south orientation, is of importance to us. And if Trinity wants to do something different, I think that they can voice themselves in that way.
Okay, it just seems like we're speaking for them. So the way I interpreted the letter, that it was like we're all going together. And I would like I think Del Norte doesn't necessarily want to be with Siskiyou, because we all have that coastal, the coastal buy-in, and along that line, we have 101, we have that tie-in and everything else. I'm just saying, with Trinity's closeness and the mass properties, they have 90% federal. They've just got a lot of things that tie into, and I think it's the Shasta Trinity Forest over there. It's not the Six Rivers. So it seems like you were saying a lot of their buy-ins, both with cultural, federal, and with utilities, tie in. So I'm just saying, I don't want to step in front of them. I think it's a great idea. I appreciate you bringing this forward. Love the idea. But I'm just saying, do they want to be with us? I mean, I hate to say, hey, we want to be in a group, and then have one of the groups say, look, wait a second. That was my only thing. But if it's just coming from us, okay, I don't have that big a dog in the fight. Don't think it makes that big a difference.
Right, and I forgot to mention, this is draft letter, and what I'm trying to do is really solicit policy from us that basically our staff could modify if necessary. It's just putting it on our legislative agenda in the short term. What we could do is just ask staff to take this draft, and with comments from today, edit that and submit that as part of the process.
Yes, Rex. Supervisor Bohn?
Can I suggest, again, I think it's a great idea, but since the ease of a telephone call instead of us signing our name to it, would it be much more powerful if all 4 counties said, we work together on so many bases, we share department heads, we have transportation issues, we have coastal issues, some of us, we have created this bond, we would like to stay together. And then they're going to say, well, these 4 counties want to stay together. So they are one, instead of us just saying, hey, we want those 3 to be with us. It just makes the modification I'd like is to have buy-in from the 3 other counties, because I just have trouble saying we want to stay together if someone doesn't want to stay together. That's, I mean, and maybe I see the eye roll, but I mean, if somebody doesn't
No,
want
that's
to
me
be,
thinking. I'm
if
thinking
somebody
about that.
doesn't want
Sorry.
to, if somebody doesn't want to be with you and you're sending a letter to a state agency that says, hey, we all want to stay together, it seems that all 4 should have a little input before we send a letter saying, hey, this is what we want for them.
Yeah, again, I really feel like we're speaking for ourselves in this case. And if the other counties want to jump in and we want to go together, if we have made a policy decision, then we can do that in steps. And we can take a first step here, which is to acknowledge that we would like to have the orientation the way that it is. And it's not necessarily about just counties per se. It's really about a north-south versus east-west orientation associated with these districtings. So I think we're good with that.
I'm just reading the first letter. It says Humboldt County is inseparably tied to Trinity, North, and Mendocino counties. I mean, it sounds like we're inseparable, but we should ask them if we really are that inseparable.
Well, I'd like to, sorry, well, I'll go to Supervisor Madrone. I have, anyway, Supervisor Madrone.
I want to thank Supervisor Wilson for bringing this forward. I got a little bit of an education here, and I think it's, he's right. I mean, we're just saying what we prefer. All the counties are going to be doing that. And as this proceeds, we can find out, do counties around us want to do something different? We can have those discussions. I suspect most people are going to want to stay the same. But anyway, I don't see it as a big issue. I think we're just stating what our preference is, and I'm fine with that. And after we hear public comment, we're ready to make a motion if needed.
I'd like to make a comment. I'm just thinking, to me, this is, it's kind of a preliminary. We're saying this is what we would like to see. Might be good. I don't have it in front of me, but perhaps we could put some language saying, while we have not been able to have these conversations with the counties we are, mentioning, and it is our preference that we would like to see it this way. I mean, that way it's not like making an assumption necessarily. And, but I think it's worth the effort of finding out what they're thinking too. But we could always, after we send it, I mean, to me, it makes sense. I hear Supervisor Bohn's concern about, well, are we making assumptions? What if they don't want to be? It's kind of like we don't want an arranged marriage of some sort. It's like, hey, we figured it out. This is how it should be. But I'm not taking that letter to be that strong. I'm taking it that, hey, this is our preference. And if the other counties don't want it, I don't think, I think if a county did not want to be part of us and made it pretty clearly, I would totally respect that. Supervisor Bushnell, did you have any comment you wanted to add? No.
Thank you through the chair. Mike, have you engaged any of the other counties at all? I'm sorry, Supervisor Wilson.
No, again, this isn't about necessarily like banding together as counties. It's like offering the opinion of this county as to whether or not whether we want to be oriented in a district that's north, south, or east, west. Really, I mean, that is the crux of it. That's kind of the core point of that. And in my opinion, it's just fundamentally better for our county to be oriented in the North Coast geographic space, I guess you'd call it.
Thank you.
Okay. Seeing hands up, we do have a couple of people for public comment. Oh, Supervisor Bohn.
Okay, I was going to say, I look forward to Supervisor Madrone's motion. Like I said at the beginning, I fully understand, but this is kind of like when we write letters for the county and we mention the board of we have to say they're coming from, it's just, I just wish in this day and age, when we run across all the other boards, we should have said, hey, do we want to all stay together? And I just think there'd be so much power in 20 supervisors signing a letter than just 5 of us. So, and I know they're going to go do it on their own, but if it was a joint effort, it just seems like it would kind of like what we do with last chance and things like that, trying to get things done. We all are working as much as we can with Del Norte and stuff like that, but I'm all for it. Good job. This is great. Great knowledge. Super.
Thank you.
All right. So we're going to go out to public comment. And our first speaker will be 0326, followed by 9716. So if you are 0326, press *6 to unmute, and you will have 3 minutes to speak.
Hi, this is Charles Wilson.
Hi, Mr. Wilson.
A number of years ago, the state Supreme Court said that the Senate could no longer be split up, with the representatives based on counties, and so Humboldt County lost its single senator. Now, what they have now is they have two duplicate bodies in the state legislature. Essentially, it's a means for the parties to get lots of people being paid, get their retirement, get their medical, get all this nonsense money that costs us taxpayers a lot of money. I suggest that somewhere in there they put the idea that maybe the two bodies should be combined, so that then there wouldn't be quite so much force to be pushed all to have two representatives which handle different districts, and the people could be better served because they would have more, there'd be less people per representative. The legislators will never, ever want to lose their job. Not that they're doing any better with fewer people, but the thing is, in the past, they've had about a half dozen ideas of splitting up California and all that kind of stuff. And if this might be one way to at least get past this idea that they're losing their job and their party preferences and everything there. And taxpayers might get a little better representation. Anyway, that's my comment there. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Wilson. We will now go to our next and final speaker. If you're interested in calling in, please do so now and press *9 to raise your hand. At this moment, we'll go to 9716 and press *6 to unmute.
You interrupting that. So back off when you call.
Hi, I actually called, so the Zoom ID doesn't work for me. It worked for me last week, and I'm poor, and so I have to pay by the minute, and I need for there to be a Zoom link so I don't have to pay for, 8 hours of a meeting call. That would be really helpful for us poor folks out here. So I didn't get to call in for the initial public statement, and I'm going to do it until you cut me off. So this area.
Actually, ma'am, just listen to me, ma'am. No, ma'am. Please,
ma'am.
Why don't you, ma'am? I'm sorry. I just didn't ask you to. If we do this for you, we have to do it for others. So what I would ask is, if you have access to email, which it sounds like you might, or if you have computer access, it's just as effective to present your comments in an email to us, because if I change it for you, I have to change it for everybody else. So that's what I suggest for you for this time. And hopefully, and we can also talk with you. We can have you call our staff and try to sort the ID out for you next time so you don't have this issue again. And I truly apologize. I can't do it for one and not for everyone. So I'm sorry. I'm going to have to move on to the next speaker.
It's just really not okay that I can't get into the Zoom call, and that there's like.
Okay, I'm just going to say right now for anyone who's listening, I understand that. we are fixing a process. Other people have been able to get in. If for some reason someone misses the opportunity to speak at the item they want to, especially if it's public comment on non-agendized item, please email us because we know for sure that we will get those comments. And, we will work to see what happened with the link, but it's just, if it's not consistent, then we have to do it for everyone. So I do apologize. So then we have one more speaker that has their hand up, and it's 6228. If you are 6228, please press *6 to unmute.
Good morning, Supervisors. Madeline DeLapp calling from Eureka. I am not speaking on behalf of HCGA today, but do want to lend my individual support for the importance of maintaining continuity with our North Coast neighbors. Specifically, it would be detrimental to lose our Senator Mike McGuire or Assemblymember Jim Wood, and to Trinity County and Mendocino, Humboldt County, we are known as the Emerald Triangle. And so if possible, being able to keep our 3 counties held together, provided the other counties are amenable to that, would be of the utmost importance for the cannabis industry. And thank you to Supervisor Wilson for bringing this forward. This really is a big issue that is often not discussed that often. So thank you, everybody.
All right, thank you, Alan. So with that, there are no other hands raised, so we will go back to the board. And I know there's talk of a motion. Supervisor Madrone?
Yeah, I would move the letter that's included in our packet with the addition of a sentence that would say, we look forward to discussing this issue with our neighboring counties. I think that goes without saying, but we could certainly put that in there. So with that addition of that sentence, I would move approval of the letter.
Second.
All right. Any supervisors have a question? Supervisor Wilson?
Yeah, just for staff, and I guess this would be for assistant or interim CAO Hayes. This basically sets precedent with relationship to just our legislative agenda. So if there's other issues that come up with this and communications with other counties, we can use this as in that format.
Yes, yeah, I think you could certainly do that.
Okay, so as we move forward, and if other counties want to band together or whatever it is, this we've just given our preference, and we can work from that. Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I'm ready to vote.
All right. Oops, where'd we go? All right, Tracy, can you do a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Chair Bass. Supervisor Bohn?
Sure.
Supervisor Bushnell?
Yes.
Supervisor Wilson?
Yeah.
Supervisor Bass?
Yes.
And Supervisor Madrone?
Yes.
Okay, it passes 5-0. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you for indulging my technical difficulties.
You have nothing compared to my technical difficulties. Like, I kind of find you guys, I lost your picture. That's my technical difficulty skills. All right. So our next item, we're going to move on to public hearings, of which we have many. The first hearing comes to us from the County Administrative Office and is regarding conduit financing for the Open Door Community Health Center project. I would like to open the public hearing at this time, and I do understand Tracy has some specific instructions on there is the need to have a call-in phone number. Tracy, wait, Supervisor Wilson has his hand up, so.
Through the chair, I have a family member who's intimately involved in this project, and so I'm going to recuse myself and sign out for a bit.
All righty. Thanks for letting us know.
Okay.
So we'll go back. Can you take your hand down, Supervisor? There you go. So yes, so I have now opened this public hearing. I'd like to go to the staff report, and like I said, this one runs a little differently. So Tracy and Sean, I'm going to need you to make sure I don't skip any steps. So.
All right. Thank you, Chair Bass. Sean Quincy, Deputy County Administrative Officer in the Humboldt County Administrative Office. We're here this morning to conduct a public hearing pursuant to the Federal Tax Equity and Fiscal Responsibility Act, or TEFRA. TEFRA requires that a public hearing be held by the governing body of the jurisdiction in which a project to be financed with tax-exempt financing is located, and that the governing body approve the proposed financing. Very quickly, and to your point, Chair Bass, I will note that there are two ways to make public comment on this hearing. You can either comment via the normal Zoom line, which is 720-707-269, enter meeting ID 835-6424-2742 and press *9. There is also a toll-free line that individuals can call, which is 844-854-2222, access code 92011. Due to the nature of the hearing and federal rules, we need to make a toll-free line available as well, which is the 844 line that I just read. Tracy, if there is public comment, if people do call into that line, I understand that CMFA is also on this call and they will raise their hand if there's any public comment there. So on to the staff report. Open Door Community Health Centers has asked that the California Municipal Finance Authority be the issuer of tax-exempt financing in an amount not to exceed $35 million. The proceeds of the bonds will be used to A, finance the construction cost of a new 34,000 square foot, two-story replacement community health center to be located at 1150 Foster Street in Arcata, and B, to refinance a loan from the USDA made in 2018 to finance a community health center located at 3750 Ronerville Road in Fortuna, and C, to refinance a new market tax credit note issued in 2014 to finance a community health center located in at 2200 Tidd Street and 2189 Tidd Street in Eureka. If this hearing sounds familiar to your board, that is because there was a hearing held and a resolution unanimously adopted for the approval of this item in on June 23rd, 2020. However, TEFRA is only valid for 1 year. The closing of this financing was delayed and was not able to close within that year that the TEFRA was valid. Therefore, it's being brought back to your board for approval at today's meeting. CMFA is a joint powers authority formed to assist local governments, nonprofit organizations, and businesses with the issuance of both taxable and tax-exempt debt. The debt to be issued by the CMFA will be the sole responsibility of the borrower, Open Door, and the County of Humboldt will have no financial or legal obligations or responsibilities with regard to the repayment of the debt. All financing documents will carry disclaimers that the loan is not an obligation of the county. The county will also bear no cost in the issuance of the proposed debt. This is a private loan with the borrower and their bank. Therefore, it's recommended that the Board of Supervisors adopt the attached resolution approving the issuance of bonds by the CMFA for the benefit of the borrower. Such adoption is solely for the purposes of satisfying the requirements of TEFRA. And with that, I'll conclude my staff report and welcome any questions that you may have.
All right. Do any supervisors have questions of staff at this time? And again, if you are listening to this meeting and you would like to make comment, press *9 so we know that you want to raise your hand, unless you're on the toll-free number. Yes, Supervisor Bohn?
Well, I'd make the motion even before public comment, but I'll wait. Because I mean, last week we were doing their 50th year anniversary, so success breeds success. And like you said, we did this a little over just about a year ago, a little over a year ago. So I think the idea of showing our support, I think the numbers we heard a year ago was 74 or 76% of our population utilizes Open Doors facilities annually. So I think this is probably a culmination about what the expansions they've done in Fortuna and Eureka, and now going back to their roots, Arcata.
All right, any other questions or thoughts from supervisors before we do go to public comment? And if you are wanting to make public comment, now's the time to call in and to press *9 to raise your hand. Tracy, I think we can do, let's do the toll number after this part of the public comment, just so we give people enough time to try to call in on that line, I guess. We do have one hand up right now, and it's 0326. I believe that's Mr. Wilson. And so 0326, press *6 to unmute, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Oh, this is Charles Wilson. I think I appreciate the idea that we're not going to be taxed additionally. The taxes are always too high. We always have the legislature wanting to add more taxes or fees, as they call them, which have no relationship to whatever they're going to use the money for. And so I appreciate the fact that they're not going to be tacking this on to the tax bill. Thank you. Bye.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Our next speaker is last 4 digits, 0151. Press *6 to unmute. And you'll have 3 minutes.
Good morning. I totally agree. Open door. I'm sorry, this is Dottie Russell, Southern Humboldt. I totally agree that Open Door should have this ability to refinance and deal with the nonprofit aspect of it. But one of the things about Arcata, Fortuna, and Eureka is once again noticeable that there isn't anything in Southern Humboldt being addressed as well. The fact that they have a networking system, they attend the meetings with DHHS and the housing authorities as well, means that they really have such a wealth of information and networking that we need to have one down here too. So I would imagine that it can't be added, that there could be some funding or include Southern Humboldt as well. But if it could, that would be really great. And if it can't, then we need to be working forward to see that it happens in the future. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Dottie. So I don't see any other hands up at this moment. I'll ask Tracy, can you do the, go through that process that Sean outlined?
Actually, Chair Bass, my understanding is that they would be in the queue as an attendee with a hand raised because they have someone managing that toll-free line. So
Okay.
without seeing that person in the queue, I feel that there is no toll-free callers at this time.
Okay, thank you very much. So we will now close the public comment portion of this hearing and go back to the board. I believe Supervisor Wilson, Bohn.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the attached resolution approving the issuance of bonds by the California Municipal Finance Authority for the benefit of Open Door Health Center.
Second. Okay, we've got a motion and a second. I don't see any other hands up or conversation. So Tracy, can you please do the roll call vote?
Sure. Supervisor Madrone?
Yes.
Supervisor Wilson?
He's not here.
Supervisor Bohn?
Yes.
Supervisor Bass?
Yes.
Supervisor Bushnell?
Yes.
4-0.
All right, so we're going to close that public hearing. Our next public hearing comes to us from Planning and Building, and it's regarding implementation of a water quality improvement grant program with funds from the Commercial Cannabis Land Use Ordinance Mitigation and Remediation Fund. I don't see the attorney popping on, so I think I don't have to read anything extra with that one. And as such, I now open this public hearing, and I'd like to turn this over to Director Ford.
Thank you, Chair Bass. Good morning. Good morning, members of the board. John Ford with the Planning and Building Department. Joining me is Michael Richardson. And Michael Richardson is going to explain the program to you. I just wanted to say this is an exciting program. It comes out of a settlement agreement based upon the adoption of the Commercial Cannabis Land Use Ordinance. The funding of this program comes from penalty fees that have been paid as a result of cannabis violations. What this then does is turns those fees around and uses them to allow cannabis cultivators to fix roads in areas of heavy sediment discharge to protect water quality. So it's a way of taking some of the enforcement fees and using them for an environmental benefit. And Mr. Richardson will explain the project to you and how it's going to function. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, board members. Michael Richardson with the Planning Department. And this is kicking off a 4-year program where we will be taking in applications for sediment reduction projects on properties that are associated with commercial cannabis activities. And that includes the roads leading to these cultivation areas. And the idea here is to leverage whatever funds are available from other sources of income with the penalties, a percentage of the penalties and fines that we collect through enforcement actions against cannabis activities, illegal cannabis activities, to develop a set of sediment reduction measures that are projects that would improve water quality in particularly the Redwood Creek and the Sproul Creek areas, but also other creeks as well. And the idea is to improve the water quality, improve the stream conditions for endangered salmon species primarily. The guidelines are attached to the board report, and they specify the timelines and the deliverables that people will be conforming to through the program. And we will be bringing forward each year of the program a set of recommendations for funding of the projects that we receive applications for. The first year of the program, there's a set aside of $500,000 that goes directly to Public Works for funding of sediment reduction projects on a list that they've developed as part of the 5-county program. I forget exactly what the acronym is for that, but that's a one-time allocation of funding that's going directly to Public Works. There's no evaluation by our department of those projects. But then in addition to that, there will be simultaneously a program where we will be accepting applications from road maintenance associations and cannabis farmers to develop road improvement projects to reduce sediment from roads. That's about all I have right at this moment. I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you, Michael. Are there any questions that board members have at this time before we go to public comment? And if you're interested in making public comment, please raise your hand by pressing *9 now, so we don't miss you. Supervisor Bohn, did you have a question?
No, I just think the project seems to be working the way it does. I know Public Works, I talked to John, and this has got a lot of opportunities and it's fixing problems and using money that we've received through violations. So this is a win-win as far as I'm concerned.
All right, thank you. Well, before I move on to the public comment portion, I do want to kind of lay the groundwork. The hand that's up now came in closely after we ended the last item or ended the last public comment. So I'm just letting the person know now, if you are not on to speak on this item, which is regarding the planning and building department item, I'll have to give you further instructions to reach out to the board separately. But this point, I will ask us 8859, press *6 to unmute. And if you are calling to comment on this item, you'll have 3 minutes.
Hi, this is Alicia Heyman, Executive Director for Friends of the Eel River. And I just want to start off by saying thanks for the opportunity to speak with you about this today. I'm really excited, sorry about the baby background noise. I'm really excited to see the board preparing to implement this cannabis mitigation grant fund, which resulted from the terms of our 2019 settlement agreement. This fund will provide necessary financial resources to reduce sediment load in our overburdened watersheds, and particularly in high priority salmon habitat. I hope that the board will implement the program as recommended in the staff report and do everything you can to facilitate a straightforward and transparent process of applying for funding. And I really look forward to seeing future staff reports on the effectiveness of the program, and I hope that the projects accomplished with this funding have the desired effect of reducing sediment and improving conditions for our salmon and steelhead. Like one of the supervisors just said, I think this is really a win-win. So thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Alicia. And I do not see any other hands up, so we'll go back to the board on this. And is there any board member who'd like to make a motion or comment? Supervisor Bohn?
Just for Director Ford. And as we do this and we look at these high level areas that the streams are being impacted, will we be looking at areas that are, extremely overgrown? 400 trees per acre, which is an unhealthy forest, which is causing so much of these trees to die in the more central or eastern areas. Do we look at that, or is this just going to be in culverts and sediment and everything's on cannabis? Because we do know that a lot of these watersheds, we're seeing it up at Ruth and stuff like that, that there's a lot of water available all of a sudden since last year, since there's no trees. So are we looking at that too, just to make our forests healthier at the same time, which makes our streams healthier?
We're not completely precluded from looking at that through the chair, but the primary focus right now is really on sediment reduction and to improve the quality of the fisheries. And so it's really one of those situations where there's more to accomplish than can possibly be accomplished. And so it's really a matter of trying to prioritize and choose the best projects that result in the greatest amount of sediment reduction.
Great, thank you. And good job on this by Michael. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have Director Mattson.
Just need to call out on items 11. Public Works believes that is not necessary on the county maintained road. We already have those assessments and other assessments that may be necessary. We can do in-house, and we would prefer not to have that contracted out. We just do not feel that it's necessary on the county road.
Right. Thank you, Director Mattson. Any other supervisors have a comment or question, concern? Don't see any. Oh, Supervisor Madrone.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I just wanted to congratulate staff on their efforts in bringing this forward. It looks like a great program. It will help leverage a lot of funds. A lot of times that's the trick, is coming up with your matching costs. And this is going to really help a lot of projects move forward. So thanks for all your efforts there.
All right, so I have Supervisor Bushnell, and then I thought Supervisor Wilson, but Supervisor Bushnell.
Thank you, through the chair. So if the assessment is already done on the Sproul Creek Road, would that be something we would take out? Asking Director Ford, I believe.
I believe that the recommendation as it's currently written is consistent with what Director Mattson just mentioned. I don't think we're requiring that the public road portion of this go through any kind of assessment, because there already are prioritized culverts there is a list and a study that has been done.
Well, so consider the request. That means we could say no.
So consider the request, I believe that is related to the Department of Fish and Wildlife.
It is. It's for the use of $16,000 in grant funds for assessment of Sproul Creek Road by Pacific Watershed.
You can, yes, you can omit that from the action. If Director Mattson believes that has already been done, that can be omitted.
And Director Mattson, that's your statement?
We already did that assessment on the county maintained portion with our 5 counties funding years ago. And any new assessment we would want to do in-house because it's just more cost effective. And, you know, we know what we're doing. Culverts are our wheelhouse in public works. So we really don't feel that we need help on assessing any of the public culverts on that road.
Thank you. I also would like to thank staff and Michael and Director Ford. I had a lot of questions yesterday for Director Ford and he was able to answer them all for me, and I really appreciate that. Michael, nice job on the presentation. Thank you so much.
All right, Supervisor Wilson.
I'm ready to move forward to make a motion that we go with staff recommendation, understanding that one of the line items has already been complete.
And do we have a second?
I would like to second, however, I would like to omit number 11 if I could add that.
Sure.
I know, yeah, I want to take it out so it doesn't get mixed up.
Okay. All right. If that's amenable to staff, then I'm okay with the modification as suggested by the seconder.
Okay. And Director Ford is nodding his head, so it sounds like that's acceptable. All right. Did you have another comment, Supervisor Wilson? Your hand is still up.
No.
Okay, now it's down. All right, well, I do not see any other hands up or questions from the board. So Tracy, can you please do a roll call vote?
Yes, Chair Bass. Supervisor Bohn.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Supervisor Bushnell.
Yes.
Supervisor Wilson.
Yes.
Supervisor Bass.
Yes.
Supervisor Madrone.
Yes.
Passes 5-0.
All right, at this time, I'll close that public hearing. And we're going to move on to our third public hearing, which comes to us from the Sheriff's Office and is regarding the annual submission of data pertaining to immigration and customs enforcement. And at this time, I am opening the public hearing and I see Sheriff Hansel on board with this, so I turn this over to you for a report.
Thank you, Chair Bass. I appreciate opening up the public hearing to discuss our ICE involvement. This is pursuant to Government Code 7283, as well as our Sanctuary Ordinance Measure K. And I'm reporting out in compliance with AB 4, AB 2792, and SB 54 as well. So every year we compile stats regarding total ICE administrative detainers received with qualifying offenses, number of individuals released prior to receiving detainer, how many ICE interviews were granted in the year, and every time we provided a release date to ICE or individuals turned over to ICE. And number of individuals with qualifying offenses currently in custody. So the stats I'm going to provide you were from June 2020 through May 2021. And this is also part of your board report. We received a total of 16 ICE detainers. 2 of those were for qualifying offenses. And we had 13 individuals that were released prior to receiving detainers. There was no ICE interviews granted or requested. There was no ICE did not contact us to request any release dates. And there were no persons turned over to ICE. And we currently do not have anyone in custody with a qualifying offense. And that would conclude my report.
All right, well, thank you very much, Sheriff. If you're interested in commenting on this item, now's your time to press *9 and raise your hand. We only have a few callers that are with us this morning, so In the meantime, I will go to Supervisor Bohn and then I will check out the attendee queue for public comment.
Thanks, Sheriff Also. And these numbers are pretty basically historical all the way back. And I can only go back as far as Sheriff Downey, but and the 10 years, 9 years, but these are pretty much the same numbers we've always had, isn't it?
Yeah, they pretty much are, especially over the last 3 or 4 years. We have not been contacted too many times by ICE for anyone that had a qualifying offense. And then prior to the implementation of SB 54 and the Measure K ordinance, we were not holding anyone in custody based upon an ICE detainer. I think that's the important message to continue to keep out there. We do not hold anyone past a release date. We do not hold someone if they're are eligible for a citation or can be bailed out. So the ICE detainers actually mean nothing to us, as well as we again refer people that ICE can always obtain a federal warrant if they want someone in custody. And at that point in time, a federal warrant would be honored by us, but they have not gone down that route.
All right. Anyone else have comments or questions at this moment? All right, seeing none, I'll officially go to the public. At this point, there are no hands raised for making public comment on this either. So we will return to the board. And
I make a motion to accept this report.
Second.
All right, we have a motion, a second. Yes, County Council Billingsley.
I thank you, Chair. I would just recommend that motion also include item 1, find that the notice was provided as that's required under the ordinance.
I think that's what I said. Yes.
Right. So is that understood by the seconder? Okay. Okay, now Tracy, please.
Thank you, Chair Bass. Supervisor Bohn.
Thank you. Yes.
Supervisor Bushnell.
Yes.
Supervisor Wilson.
Yes.
Supervisor Bass.
Yes.
And Supervisor Madrone.
Yes.
Passes 5-0.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Chair Bass.
I close that public hearing and we are going to ask County Council Billingsley to brief us on our closed session, excuse me.
Thank you, Chair. It's the intention of the board to meet in closed session to consider the appointment for the position of Public Defender pursuant to Government Code 54954.5 and 54957.
All right, thank you. Going to public comment now, and of which there are none. So we'll come back. And I do want to mention, before we go into closed session, I'd like to say a few words about the woman we're joining in memory of today. Okay. Alicia's got my back if I can't do this. So, moving here from Washington when she was 18 years old, she went to work for many years for Lloyd Bridges Sr. And across the street was a restaurant where she liked to go for lunch and where she met her future husband, who just happened to own the restaurant. They soon became a team and opened a restaurant that was a staple in the community for over 5 decades. I'm okay. While his name was on the marquee, truth be told, she was the glue that held it together. Merry Christmas. Okay. I hate these moments. I'm good. Go away. All right, here I am. I'm going to finish this up. I'm strong. So, a perfect example of the old saying, behind every man is a great woman. You know, she was the one that held it together and made it a success. If she had a theme song, it would have been Frank Sinatra's I Did It My Way. She was smart, strong, shrewd, and she was stubborn. Traits I'm pretty certain she handed down to her children. While she never really got involved in politics and actually totally disliked it, she was quite possibly the only person in this county that was not only married to a county supervisor, but also mother to a county supervisor. So I do appreciate the board giving me the ability to adjourn in memory, in the memory of my mom, Shirley Bass. Okay, I'll see you in closed session. County Council Billingsley, can we have a report out of closed session?
Yes, thank you, Chair. The board voted unanimously to appoint Luke Brownfield as the Humboldt County Public Defender.
All right, thank you very much. And with that, we will be adjourning this meeting in memory of Shirley Bass, and we will see you next week.